Hello, there you are. Hi, you just have to unmute yourself.
Okay, there we go.
There we are. There you go. How are you doing?
How are you doing?
I'm good. This is so nice to see, I had an interview earlier today with Joke. I don't know if you met her at the meetup at IDS, but she had just flown in from Seattle.
Oh, probably did, but I don't know if I probably would
Yeah.
recognize her
Anyways,
face.
she's a home stager, but it was so funny. I'm like, oh, it's so nice to see some people face to face, in such a short period of time. That was only a few weeks ago. That's when I saw
I
you.
know, I know. Well, thank you for inviting me to do this. This is fun.
I'm excited to have you. Thank you for I feel like this was a kind of a last minute time slot,
It kind
wasn't
of
it?
was. It was like,
Yeah.
yeah, well, let me just make that work.
Yeah. Amazing. Because we had an opening. We had someone who had to cancel last minute and we're like, well, let's see. That would be great. So I'm so glad and I'm thrilled that it's you.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I'm thrilled to be here.
So you are
So
my
can you
last
hear me
recording.
okay, or do I need to have my earbuds in? You're all good?
You sound clear, but if you want to try just to see if it's a different type of sound, you're welcome to.
That's up to you. Let me
Why don't you
see.
just try it? I'm not the sound engineer. I'm terrible at this stuff.
Well, you and me both.
Someone will be like, oh, your sound quality was so bad that episode, Rebecca. What'd you do wrong? I'm like, I don't know. I
So
think I'm
do
doing
I
it all
sound any
right.
different? Do I sound any different with them on, or is it better or without them?
I'm just thinking because it's different. I'm just trying to decide which is better.
Yeah,
Um,
sound different too. You sound like you're more in a closed room. Does that make sense? Is that how I sound to you?
yeah, and that's probably good for a podcast, right?
I think so.
Yeah. You'd think I would know. I've only been doing this for 3 years.
Well, you have more experience under your belt than me, so I'm just going to go with what you think.
Yeah. Honestly, the tech is not my forte. I'm like, I just want to have the conversations.
Yeah,
Um,
there we go.
okay.
Well, as long as
So
you
here's
can
what
hear me, that's the most important part.
yeah, no, we're good. We're good. Let's just keep the headphones in, I think, because I do think it eliminates these outside noise.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
Amazing.
so too.
So what I'm going to do is in a second, I'll clap. So that'll indicate we're going to start. That's when the recording starts.
Okay.
And I'll get you to kind of just introduce yourself to the audience, let everybody know who you are, what you're all about, what your business is. You can share how long you've been in business. And then we'll just have an organic conversation. And at the end, as you probably know, I ask for a nugget of wisdom.
Okay.
Are you ready, Katherine? Okay.
I'm ready.
Here we go. Ready? All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business. Welcome to Resilient by Design, Katherine. It's so amazing to see your lovely face.
Well, thank you. It's so nice to be here. It's lovely to see you too.
And I just saw you at IDS, so it feels like only a couple of weeks ago, really, at this time of this recording, that we got to hang out in person, which was so nice.
Well, the nicest thing was we got to celebrate your birthday at IDS. So
Right.
that was really
And that.
exciting.
Yeah, it was. It was really fun. Okay, so I just want to dive right in, but because I have so many questions and I'm so excited for you to talk about your business and share all the wisdom because you have so many years under your belt and I can't wait for you to share. But before we get all into that, why don't you just give everyone a little bit of an overview of who you are and what you do?
Okay. Well, my name is Katherine Porath, and my middle name is Joy. So my business name is Katherine Joy Interiors. I started my business in Montreal actually in the 90s. That sounds like so long ago. But when we lived in Montreal, the what we had to do when he started a business, it had to be in one language. It had to be in all French. So my business name is actually Katherine Joy Interiors. So it translates nicely into English, but I am
Beautiful.
bilingual and I speak French. So a lot of people don't know that. I've been in business for over 30 years and I do full service design. And this year I'm really focusing more on universal design. So I'm trying to educate my clients on safety and living in their home for a longer time, not having to go to a senior's home, and even making the home safe for all ages, really. I've had a few projects that I've done for clients that have needed accessible um, features in their home. And I just, I really love that kind of a feeling of the satisfaction from the clients that when I've done that. So I really decided that this year is going to be my dive in opportunity to be the expert.
I freaking love that. It takes what we do, which is helping others, to a whole new level. And it must feel so rewarding to know that you're not only making it beautiful and functional and all those things, but you're actually making it livable for someone. And as
Exactly.
a different, as like a marketing, from a marketing standpoint, like I know that's not why you're doing this, but you'll want to really shout it from the rooftops, because I don't know that there's enough designers really differentiating themselves this way and becoming an expert in that. And that is, I mean, you already know this, but that is, our population is aging and there's going to be a massive need for knowledge on how do you, what if you're going to do a bathroom, make sure you put in the blocking in the shower so that maybe down the road you could put a grab bar, for example, right?
Exactly. Well, not only that, we're putting in the grab bars now, but
Yeah.
they don't look like the hospital institutional ones. I'm trying to get sexy in the bathroom for
Whoop,
safety.
whoop. Sexy for safety. I like it. You need to trademark that.
Right? Yeah, I am loving that whole vibe. So I'm making grab bars look flashy and, bring on the bling in the bathroom and the
I
safety.
love
So
it. But also for resale, right? Like people aren't staying in their houses forever anymore. And so if you can set that up to appeal, I mean, that's a whole other conversation. We're not even really here to talk about that, but I would love to. We could certainly, I think we need to talk about this on another episode, because I don't know that a lot of designers know as much about this as maybe they should or could, to help. Really, that's just like additional knowledge and expertise to help your clients. And I love that you're just leaning into that. I think that's amazing.
yeah, well, I did my first universal design about 15 years ago, and I wasn't certified. Now I have the CLIP certification, which is the certified living in place. And so now I know more about it, but it's so cool to be able to work with clients like that have their own needs, and they'll actually tell you what they need if you don't have the certification. But when you have the certification and you go into a client's home that actually needs your help, they may have like a PSW, or they may have, help in the house that will tell you, they need to have a grab bar here and they need to have, support there, and they need to have all of these different things. And there's so many things out there now that people don't even know about, that I have been implementing them in different people's projects secretly. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that was happening. Like, I have an amazing story to share with you, Rebecca. And it just like, it melts my heart because I have a client that I did their kitchen, and it's they're in their mid 50s, 60s, they're in their retirement age. Unfortunately, he got cancer. He ended up having a walker for a while. And I went back after he was, recovered, to take photos. And they said, the kitchen worked so well for him when he was with a walker. And he said, I don't know how you managed to design this space, but the microwave under the counter was so helpful. All the drawers were easy, accessible. The space between the island and the counter just worked so well for him. And I was like,
Amazing. Oh my
I
God, that's
know.
amazing. So
Yeah. So those
validating to
kind of
hear that.
stories.
Yeah. That little extra level of care and detail and expertise that you brought to the project. Sometimes it takes time for people to appreciate them. That's really
Mhm.
amazing. What a beautiful
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
So now you're doing that. Let's talk about your beginnings. So you've been doing this for 30 years. So you are a seasoned professional. So tell me, what did it look like? How did you get started? Did you go to school? Did you kind of just happen into this industry? And, 30 years is a long time. And I met you, what, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago?
Yeah, a couple years ago, maybe. Yeah.
When you took Power of Process. So I'm super curious how someone who's been doing this for 30 years lands on my stuff and my
I
course and ends up joining and finding so much value. So I really am so excited to hear your story.
Well, when we lived in Montreal, I had three young boys at the time, and I was actually a floral designer before this for about 15 years. And it just wasn't enough. I was bringing clients their flower arrangements and changing around their furniture. So you can't have your sofa here. I'd be moving things around, but it has to match the flowers. It just didn't work. So it was like, maybe I should make this go to the next level.
That's amazing. No,
Yeah,
this can't be.
no, you can't have your sofa facing that way. You have to move it this way because the flowers look better like that. So, anyways, I went back to school when I was 30, and I took interior design, and I just loved it. And I've been actually learning things ever since then. My husband actually was working for the railroad, and we got transferred a lot. So we moved from Montreal to Edmonton. We ended up building our own custom home out there. It was fabulous, and the builder there loved what I did so much and all of the different designs and finishes that he hired me. So I worked for him for a while. So that was fun. When I was in Montreal, I worked for a design firm there, and I learned a lot because I mixed paint and sold wallpaper and all that kind of stuff. So I've had a lot of different experiences. When I worked here, I actually had a client that was moved here from California. They moved back and they couldn't find anybody in California, so they asked me to come down there to fix their house. I was like, hell
Ooh,
yeah.
nice. Nice.
So
Oh, we
that
got to talk more about that one. Okay.
I
Amazing.
know, I know. But I think what was the best for me is that I joined affiliations. So when we moved back to Toronto from Edmonton at that time, I joined Sedeka, which is now DDA, and I, went to a lot of different affiliate um, events and courses, and I took every course that I could take. So I think that was something that really helped me get to where I am, networking with people and taking courses. And I just think that the more you can learn, the more is powerful for you. So in those 30
Absolutely.
years, I've had lots of different projects, and in lots of different cities in Canada and in California. And very thankful to have actually won probably about 10 awards for some of the projects that I've done, which is that's the
Wow.
beauty of
Amazing.
working for all of these years. You get recognized, and that's the best part of it, is being recognized by your peers for projects that you've done. But as you know, working in a sole proprietor, it's very difficult working on your own. So it's wearing all of the different hats and doing all the things and
So have you always worked on your own? I mean, I know now you have a lovely design assistant working with you. Did you always have assistants or design help? Or have you always kind of been a solo show?
I've always been a solo show. And the crazy part about that is that during COVID, I probably had 20 projects I was working on at the same time. And it
Woman,
was just
how? That's
I didn't I
craziness.
don't think I slept
Yeah.
for a couple
No,
for
there
a
wouldn't
couple
be
of
time.
years. It was nuts. Yeah. Yeah. And then I don't
Amazing.
know, how when you say, when you want something done, ask a busy person. Well, so while I was busy and just sitting watching, going through my phone, your name always came up. And I would be starting to get emails from you and like power process, and I should be looking at this. And I'm thinking, somebody that has a system that's going to make my life easier? Hella freaking you usually say,
Hallelujah.
hallelujah. So I was just really intrigued what you were offering. So I started listening to your podcasts, and I started thinking about, you know what? Yeah, there is better ways out there. And
Mm.
so that's where I landed after so many years of working by myself. And then I did take Power of Process in 2022 after all of that busyness. And but because I was so busy, I couldn't finish it. So it was like, sorry, Rebecca, but I'll have to put you on the just the side
Yeah,
of my
that's
desk,
okay.
not too much on the back burner. You were never too far away. Um, but just, this recently we decided, I did take your advice from the Power of Process and hire somebody, which is Sierra, she's been immensely helpful. And it's nice to have the opportunity to have a specialist on your team that does just something. So she does the chief architect and all the Instagram posts, which is like two big things off my list, which is great.
Totally. Awesome. Good for you.
I know.
Um, so what changed then? So all these years, 30 years, you're working on your own, and then all of a sudden out of the blue, you're like, I'm gonna hire. I mean, I probably said hiring is a great idea, but like what was it that changed for you?
Well, I think it was just, I think listening to your podcast and taking the Power Process where you go to through all of the different uh, modules, and your suggestion of hiring people. I'm thinking that's a great idea. I should really look into that. And
I love it. What a
and
novel idea. I'm gonna look into that. That's
well,
amazing. Well,
I
you had
have
been so
had like
busy.
Georgian, yeah, and Georgian College has actually had students come and work with me before. And so I have had those opportunities, but it's not like the same as somebody that stays on your team and is, kind of helping you all along. It's more like you're teaching them. I'm still teaching
Yeah,
Sierra because she's still
of
new
course.
in the industry, but it's just been nice to have somebody that knows what, what can help take some stuff off of your agenda. And
Yeah.
so I should have done it much sooner, but honestly, I've never been as busy as I was, like, especially during COVID. And it was just like, I can't do this anymore, or I'm going to like just go nuts.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
when I decided. And it was really thanks to you, Rebecca, that I did that. And it was the Power Process that helped me kind of like see the light. It was like the light turned on. It was one of those aha moments when I was walking my dog in the morning listening to your podcast, which is what I do. It was like, stopped at a red light. It was like, look at that. That's what I have to do.
Amazing. I love that. I love hearing these things. This is why I do what I do. It's amazing. So let's talk about that. So you're in this
Yeah.
industry for 30 years, you're running projects successfully, you keep getting more clients, you're busy as ever during the
Yeah.
pandemic, and that
Yeah.
speaks to your years and of experience and the name that you've built, right? And so people are coming to you in droves. What was it that you got from Power of Process that was missing? Because you must have had some systems in place. Did you have certain ways that you did things for every project, or were you just kind of like winging it for 30 years? Because I have a hard time imagining that.
I had a system, but it wasn't as clear and concise as the one that you presented to everybody. So I kept on rewriting it. It was like, okay, here's the contract, but let me just rewrite it for you instead of having just more generalized
Right.
things. And I would have like a letter, that would be partially programmed in there, but I would be changing most of it. And then it was like okay, well, now I even took your pricing with confidence, which was like, it gave me another kind of like, just like that more confident pricing with the confidence thing that I was like, I've been always doing flat fees, but it's kind of like it's estimated design hours. So it's like,
Right.
oh, I've done this kind of a project before. How many hours am I going to give this client? Just pulling numbers out of my hat
Yeah.
because I've been doing it so often. Oh, I think the last time I charged, it was only took me like 20 hours to do that, or 15, or, and then you tell the client, well, I told you it was going to be 20 hours, but we've made like so many changes. I have to charge you like another
Right.
15, and it's like, if I had a better system, I wouldn't be in this
Yes.
situation. So
Yeah.
the more you are in business, the more you need to learn about your business. So if anything I learned was spend time not on your business, but in your business.
I think you mean spend time
Or
on
the
your
other way around.
business. The other way
On your
around.
business, not in your
Yeah,
business,
yeah, yeah.
on your business. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Working on your business and not working in client projects.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I needed to do more of that.
So how
So
did you
instead of
carve out
just,
the time? Like you were so busy because I love that you say that and I love that we're talking about this. I haven't talked about this for a while on the podcast. This idea of working on your business. And for me, when I first started the podcast, I feel like that's all I talked about because it was still such a new aha for me. Um,
yeah,
because for me it took so long, and I want to hear your story, but it took so long for me to make the time to work on my business. I kept hearing this thing like work on your business, and in my head I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, yeah, when I have time after all my 7 projects are done, or after I like send off that thing. And I never had time to work on my business until I slowly forced it, and it was very slow. It took a really long time for me to get there. Now I'm seeing all these people take power of process and they're like, boom, and then everything
I
changed. I'm like,
know.
God, where was power of process when I started? But
That's okay.
it right. And so I guess the idea is how the question I have for you is this idea of working on your business. It sounds really great, but in practicality, like how did you make that happen? Because you were busy.
Well, it's never easy. So it's like, the taking the time, it's and again, it's like I'm in my 60s now. So it's hard to, kind of like find that balance of everything that you want in life. Okay, so you have to find time to take care of yourself. So you're going to the gym or you're going walking, and then you've got to take the time to, walk the dog, and then you're going to find time to carve out that time to work on stuff to make your business better. So it's like, okay, I'm going to take an hour for this. And I started, your calendar thing got me going on that. Like carving out time in my calendar for an hour here, an hour there. That's the time for me. That's the time for the dog. That's the time for the. So I really started to go, oh, you can do that. So it was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
wow. So instead of just running with your day like everybody else, like I was doing for so many years, I really started to learn to slow down. And by slowing down, I actually got more profitable and more
Yes. Yes.
confident in everything
Preach.
else,
Yes.
right?
100%. That was 100% my experience. It
Yeah,
seems counterintuitive though, doesn't it, at the time?
it does.
Like
It does.
even just like designing your calendar, like why would I want to have such a structured calendar? How am I actually going to get things done? Where's the space for creativity? But in fact, having structure to your week and certain blocks of time for certain activities actually gives you more creative freedom. And it gives you the time when you know you can actually, your brain isn't thinking about the 100 things you still have to do because you know they're already blocked out in the calendar. You've got time for them.
Yeah,
And then also
yeah,
just that idea of like, I can take on fewer projects. Those projects can take me a little longer to deliver because I can charge more money. And all of a
yeah.
sudden, your life is more in balance and you're actually making more money.
Yes, yes. And the fact that you can actually tell yourself, yes, you do have time to work out. Yes, you do have time to go golfing or whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
Because if you put that time in the calendar, you're going to work harder on the rest of the day so that you can get to that.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's kind of it's kind of like magic.
Magic. I love it. Everybody take power of process. And I will wave my magic Rebecca wand
And
and
it'll be joy for everybody.
just like Katherine Joy. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, phenomenal. Oh my gosh, Katherine, I love you. So, okay, so that is really wonderful to hear. I love that the calendar was effective. I mean, I do hear that quite often, this idea. And if you're listening, you're like, what's she talking about? Calendar. Um, and I assume this is what you're talking about, but it's like this idea of time
Yes.
blocking, right?
Yes,
Putting things in
exactly.
your calendar, committing to doing things at a certain time. Maybe it's a regular Money Mondays where you work on your finances, or every Friday afternoon, or for me, I'm so strict about my time blocking now, where I literally have 2 days a week where I'm available to my interior design team. So Tuesdays and Thursdays. So Tuesdays, we typically do an in-office meeting, depending on the projects. It might be in office, let's review designs, or sourcing or meeting clients or Zooms with clients. But then now Monday, Wednesday, Friday are a combination of working on my business and doing the coaching, the online courses, and all of that. And I've become pretty regimented about it. And I love waking up in the morning and I'm like, oh, today's that kind of day. Right.
Right.
Like this morning, I'm like, oh, today, like all day, I'm just recording podcasts. I'm like, cool. I'm going
Nice.
to do my hair and makeup. I'm going to get a bunch of different outfits and I'm going to go to the office. And like, that's my day. Not, okay, first I have to go out to do a podcast. Then I'm going to get in the car and go to Cravat because for some reason, like the fabric samples didn't arrive. Then I'm going to go and stop by the job site. Like too many different types of tasks that require different skills in one day is not the best use of your time.
Exactly. So I have learned a lot by that exact blocking time to do the same thing. So yeah. So if we're going to see clients, we're going to see a couple clients that day. So I
Yes.
book that. And if we're going to, because if we're like, I'm in Newmarket, so clients are in Toronto, we're only going to drive there if we're seeing a couple things, or we're going to do some sourcing at the same time. So we're going to kind of like try to
Yeah.
complement our day so that we're not wasting time. And so
Yeah.
Wednesdays have been the day to review projects too. So yeah, so it's, yeah, but by putting calendar dates or activities on the calendar for sure. And in the summer, all my clients know that I golf on Wednesday afternoon, so you can't reach me after that.
I love that. I gotta take a page out of your book. I gotta find something for my summer. I do want to learn to
Yes.
golf. I'll tell you, it's on my vision board. I do want to learn how to
Yeah,
golf. So maybe that's what I'll
I'll
do. Once
take
a week,
you.
I'll do
I'll
it.
I'll
Really?
take you. Sure.
I want to figure out where can I go and get a lesson? Like, I don't know. You could teach me, I suppose, or just take me and like send me off to my lesson.
Well,
I would love that.
I wouldn't say that I'm anything like a pro, but I could show you how to hold it.
Yeah. Well,
I
that's a
could show
start.
you what to do. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a start. Amazing.
It's all about the fun. It's all about the
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and being outside and just taking that time for you. And I think
Yeah.
what someone listening might be thinking is like, "Oh wow, like I mean, obviously Katherine can do that with her clients because she's a seasoned designer. She has years of experience. Of course, her clients are going to respect her calendar, but what about little old me? I'm just starting out. I can't imagine telling a client I'm not available on a certain day. And I just want to say, yes, you can, because you can control the narrative and you can control and still be you can still be very service oriented, but have boundaries and say, I'm just not available. You don't have to tell them you're golfing. I mean, your clients know, but somebody starting out could just say, I'm not available. No, that's not going to work out for me. I'm not available Wednesday afternoon. What about Friday morning? And so I think that sometimes we're afraid to not stand up to our clients, but set the parameters. And that's your job. It's the only way you're going to have any sanity, right?
Yeah. But can I tell you something? It's really funny. I was afraid to tell people that I was golfing. So I would do the exact same thing. And then one time it slipped. I said to my client, "Oh, I'm golfing." "You are? Oh my God." And so now they have more respect for me because I'm taking my time to go golfing, and they probably are golfers too. So they understand that language and they actually respect me. It's like you go,
Right.
girl. We won't bother you on Wednesday afternoon because I only golf at 3 o'clock. So it's not like it's the whole day. I have the day still to be reached.
Yeah.
It's just 3 o'clock. And they'll say, "Oh yeah, 3 o'clock, you're on the golf course." Yeah. And then,
And then it
and
gives you
it's
something to talk about with them.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's connecting with them in a different way too. And I think that's really important.
I love that. I love that you shared it and it's actually almost made it easier for you to say because now you don't feel like you're always
Yeah.
making an excuse, right? I'm just not available on
Yeah.
Wednesdays 'cause I'm golfing. I love that. I
Well,
mean,
because,
look at the
yeah.
corporate world. Everyone's going golfing all the time. No one thinks twice about it.
Well, and I think that clients need to see that you're real people too. So whether it's that you're spending time with your kids or you're going on a family vacation or you're taking your dog to the park, I mean, we all have lives. And so when they see that we're making time for those things and that we're going to be working harder on their project when we're back in the office, I think there's
Yeah,
value to that.
absolutely. And I mean, you're not going to be in what is it in their on their beck and call. Like that's just not realistic and they
Exactly.
don't expect it. So don't act that way. That's my tough love for designers. Stop letting your clients
Yes.
dictate your life. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Okay. So we
Yeah, that's
went
a
on the
whole other
tangent there.
story.
Total. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I've had many a nights crying in bed while my clients are texting me at 11 o'clock. Like, no, thank you, not
Oh my
anymore.
gosh. I have learned from you for that too, that I have learned so many new boundaries. And I do not answer my phone on after 6 o'clock. Even if it's a text, if it's a Friday, I will only reply on Monday.
Good for
I,
you.
yeah,
It takes restraint, but it's so
it's,
important.
yeah, it has been difficult because I want to, like, what? Sometimes, and it's just like, oh no, you can just wait. And then I
Totally.
say the same thing for clients when they text me on a Sunday. It's, I won't answer that. And then I'll say to them on Monday, I got your message, but here's my answer. And they say,
Yeah.
oh, so sorry. I didn't want you to look at it. I just
Yeah.
didn't have any
Okay.
time on the week during to say it. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
point
Next time, put
taken,
it in
but I'm
an
not,
email. Yeah.
right? Exactly.
And schedule the send for Monday morning.
Right. Right. Right.
That's the next level of whipping our clients into shape. Okay,
Yes.
let's talk a little bit more about the process and
Yes.
what were some of the biggest takeaways? Actually, I would love to know, was there anything that surprised you when you did power process the first or maybe the second time when you actually had time to go through it with your design assistant? I mean, was there anything that surprised you that you didn't expect from the course?
I don't know if it was the surprise part, but I would like to say the one thing that we did take away from that we just love is your Canva templates. Um, that has really been a game changer for us because being that helped us make our process. So, we, of course, we changed it up a bit to kind of like, make it our own. But it's like now we have templates for our own. Here's the mood board. Here's the welcome letter. Here's all of the things. So it's just Canva. Like I was using Canva for like posts and cute things and stuff, but I had no idea the level of opportunity that was awaiting us. So for you to have kind of shared what you have in your system for us, that was a real game changer for us.
Yeah,
So
I appreciate you sharing that. No one else has really talked about that before on the podcast because it's a huge time saver.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that I love that part of it. So that was really good.
Yeah, and it's wonderful to be able to take something and then you can tweak it, right? Put in your brand colors, make it your own, put in your wording, right? Make sure
Yes,
it's in your
exactly.
voice and all of that jazz. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. That's really great. I mean, I think a lot of designers these days are looking for templates, anything to speed up the learning curve.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and when we're sending things out to clients, and when we send pretty things out to them, they see it and they go, "Wow,
Yeah.
that looks like so professional, so put together." The branding is always there on every page, and it just makes it look more professional. So, being in this power process, there was so many different modules just to make us feel more professional. So even though I've
So
been doing it 30 years, there's always something new to learn.
what else did you take from Power Process and implement into your business that you were not doing before?
So I never collected a payment from a client before a consultation. I was always that client that took payment that day. So now it's like, I can do that. That's cool.
But that's the beauty of it, right? It's like, oh, other people are doing this, so I guess I can do this. When you start to
Well, and
see
that,
how others are
yes,
running their business, right? It's so empowering.
it is so empowering. And I think that's really the key reason for joining anything like your power process is learning what the community is doing and what we're not allowed to do, but what we feel is okay to do because everybody else is doing that. And just I think that the um, all of the different letters that we sent out that you suggested, I never sent out a, you know get to know me letter. Like I figured if they contacted me, they already knew about me. I would just like, okay, let's make an appointment. Like, why do we have to have like this pre-visit and all this other kind of stuff, you know? So,
Right.
um, but it does make a difference. It just shows more professionalism.
Mhm.
So those are all things that I really took away from the course. So it was good. And learning it the
Are,
second time just was like a rubber stamp.
and so would you say that as a result, you are attracting different clients, or are you charging higher fees?
I'm not charging higher fees because I think my fees are like I probably could still charge higher fees. I'm always afraid to up that number, but I am being a little bit more um, picky. I'm I'm taking on as clients. And I think one of your podcasts said, you know, a certain amount of money that you needed to have that client um, pay you for a project, or it didn't make any value to your business. I've started looking at that too. And it's like, well, if you just want me to do colors or just, you know, I could do it as a one consultation, but I'm not, you know, going to run around and stuff like that for just this amount. So I have learned to be a little bit more picky and um, just more selective on the clientele that I'm getting in. And it may be less projects, but they're better projects.
I love that. I love that. It's so important. And I know no one likes to talk about the money side of it, but really looking at which service that we offer, like which is the one that's bringing in the most revenue. And also, if you take on all those little higgly piggly projects, your time is compromised and you don't have the same time to devote to a better project, right? A bigger project, a full scope project, or what have you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're the tire kickers.
Yeah. Oh, there'll always be tire kickers.
Oh yes,
That's been a
but
real
that's
mission to try and like, what are
yeah,
the best ways that I can pre-qualify my clients to eliminate? Because I used to get a lot of those, right? Like, young, starting out, not charging enough money. You go to people's houses and they had no intention of hiring me. And it just was like this constant waste of time.
yes, yes. Yes. Well, and it's funny because, you know, over the last 30 years, consultations have been very different. And so I think when I first started, I was only charging $50 an hour. So that's how long ago it was. Now I'm $250 an hour, but it's probably could still be more. But it's you know it has changed and evolved. You know, it would be like the
Mhm.
client would invite you in, you'd sit down to have coffee, you'd chat, whatever. Then you take a look. It's like people now come in, you want a coffee? No, what we're just doing is get right to work. I don't drink on the job. Let's just get right in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's changed. Yeah, yeah. So it is more
Um,
business oriented than let's be buddies kind of thing at the first.
right. Treating it more like a business. And maybe that just comes with time, or like maybe it's also something that there's designers listening that maybe don't want their business design passion to be a business. They just really want it to be a hobby. They don't want to lose money, but they're happy just
Mm,
doing what they want to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of designers listening that are doing it because they enjoy it and they don't need to do it for financial reasons. And
right,
that's wonderful. But for those of us who, want to help contribute to whatever our lifestyle might be, or maybe some of us are the only earner in the family. And so you got to treat your creative business like a business. And that
right,
sort of
right.
was a hard learning for me, even though, I mean, I was always needing to be a business for me. I always needed to contribute half of my um half of my not half of my money, all of my money contributed to half of the household revenue, right? And so for me it was always about needing to make money, but I never always treated it like a business. I didn't know how to. And for me that's where power process really kind of came into being, was once I figured out, oh, if I have repeatable systems, if I have like so many steps to do every project, then my life's getting a little bit easier and I look more professional and now I can charge more money. And wait a minute, what if my process is unique to me and I can highlight what's my differentiator? And let me start looking at, and that's really where it came from, because I do believe there is no one size fits all to running a design business. And so there's lots of other people out there teaching their way of doing things. But for me, Power of Process was always about, sure, I can show you how I do things, but really that's an example. You're welcome to
Yeah.
copy me. By all means, you're not my competition. There's enough work out there for all of us. But I do highly encourage the students of the course to take what I've done and make it their own. Really
Yes.
self-reflect on how you want your business to run and look and what steps work for you. And I'm curious, Katherine, since you've taken the course and started creating your process, has your process changed? Or have you
It
set one
has.
process and you follow? Oh, it has. So what about it has changed?
So I have to tell you on just the consultation visits. Now, the one thing about having Sierra, an assistant, and if I can give one advice to somebody is to bring somebody with you to those consultations. You just look so much more professional. I mean, you walk in there as a team, one of you is taking notes, one of you is taking pictures, one of you is talking to the client. It's just, it is just a game changer too. I mean, we look more professional, therefore I should be charging more. So it makes it more efficient. So I think that's the one thing that's changed the most since all of this. And then with all of the different, you know, um, modules and forms and things that we have learned through your course, it makes it makes it easier. It just makes it so much easier to follow. It's kind of like having that block in your calendar. You've got this one done, you've got that one done, you've got this one done, and it's good. So I've implemented a lot of what I've always done, so that the way I charge is still by the time
Time
basic
estimation.
estimation, which is still I still think I do a pretty good job on that, and clients understand that. Um, so I'm not trying to change the wheel too much on my business, but implementing some of the great things that you have in your power process, it's been a great balance.
Oh, it's amazing. Well, I'm so happy to hear that. And you are so right. Bringing someone to the consultation with you, I resisted for a long time. I didn't want to pay for someone to come with me.
Yeah,
But then
yeah,
you just charge more for your consultation and the hours it saves you because someone else is
yes,
typing up all the notes afterwards and taking all the overall measurements or taking the pictures or however you run your consultation. Then it's
yes,
like the
yes,
consultation's over. I can move on to another project. I mean, this is how we do it.
right.
And then the designer who's with me then like sends me the notes and the measurements and the this, and then I go ahead
Yes,
putting a proposal together, like faster turnaround too to getting that
yes,
proposal out.
yes. And they see you more professional too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's amazing. Oh, great. I'm so glad you
yeah.
shared that nugget. That's so good. Okay, speaking of nuggets, it's
Mm,
about that time
okay.
where you get to share a final nugget of wisdom for our listeners. What have you got for us today, Katherine?
So, what I would suggest to anybody starting out in the business or even after 30 years in the business, really network with your local organizations. I've joined the Newmarket Chamber here. They've been a great support for me. The DDA, NKBA, all of these different organizations, Power Process, anything that you can find in your community that brings you together with other people is power, because networking just brings you to more information that you can learn, and more information that you can learn brings you more clients. It's just like one of those snowball things. So I think just knowing more people, going to these events that you're invited to, networking with your peers. If there's somebody that you really admire, reach out to them. Say, hey, how are you? I love your work. And then just be there for everybody. I think that's my nugget, is just that's how I've done so well, I think, is just by networking with people and just asking questions and and being around them.
I love that. It's so funny because one observation I had when we were at the interior design show and we were at the meetup, or I don't know where it was. And I think was it Jane Lockhart who walked by and she's like, "Oh, hi, Katherine." And you're like waving hi. I'm like, Katherine knows everybody. I don't know, is that who it was? I can't remember. But
I think so. Yes.
yeah, probably. I mean, I know you've been in the industry a little longer than me, but I was pretty impressed. So I think that's very sage wisdom to end off today, because it is so true. And I think especially after the time that we've gone through pandemic, with people getting comfortable staying home, it does take a little, even I feel it, it takes a little extra effort. I feel like I need to push myself a little bit to go to the events,
Mhm.
because I get the invite and then I'm like, oh, do I really feel like going? But then with the times that I do go, there's always some connection, or someone's like, hey, why don't we host one? I'm like, oh my gosh, if I hadn't come here, I wouldn't have talked to this person who offered to host, let's say, a meetup, or I wouldn't have talked to this person who reminded
Yeah.
me that that company exists, or whatever it might be. So I think that's really great advice.
Well, I think the first time we met in person was at an event that We Resort was hosting.
Yes, that's right. At the party, their grand opening in their new
Yes.
location. Yeah, that was so
Yeah.
fun. That was the first time
Yeah.
we met in person. I'm glad you came up to me, because I'd only ever seen you on Zoom before that
I know.
in the
Well, I never
course.
met you in person either. I'd only seen you on my computer screen. So it was like,
Yeah,
oh, that looks like Rebecca. Oh, yeah.
in 3D.
I,
Amazing.
I know. I loved it. Loved it. I could actually hug you instead of just,
I know.
saying hi.
It was nice. We gave me a nice big hug. It was awesome. We took a picture
Yeah, I'm
together.
a
I have
hugger.
all those pictures. Yeah, me
I know. I
too.
love
Me
it.
too. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, Katherine. I really appreciate you sharing your experience taking the course, especially coming from someone who's so seasoned and who's so successful in her own interior design business. I think there's a lot of listeners who will appreciate hearing that you're always learning, and there's always an opportunity to improve the way you do things, and you have such a growth mindset, which is incredible. Where can
Thank
people
you.
find and follow you?
So it's Katherine Joy Interiors is the website, and you can find me at Katherine Joy Interiors on just about every handle going. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn is all the same. Katherine Joy Interiors with a K.
Amazing. That's important. Yes. You know what's funny? I was listening to, this is a totally unrelated to anything design, but I was listening to Prince Harry's book, which some people have poo-pooed. I really, really have enjoyed it. But he talked about how the palace, aka his father and Camilla, made Catherine change the spelling of her name because they didn't want to have another C, because it was like Charles and Camilla. So she changed her name from a C to a K. Did you ever hear that?
Oh, I didn't know that. No.
And then something
Well, she
popped
should
up
have
on my
had it K.
Instagram. I know, and it
Did
was
much
Catherine with a
better.
K. Anyways, little nugget of
Well,
wisdom for y'all there
well,
today.
it's funny because my style is really classic design inspired with joy. So classic with a K goes kind of like royalty, right?
Totally. And Princess Kate, or whatever she is now, is very classic. So there you go. As are you.
There you go. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure
Amazing.
seeing you today. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Thank you, Katherine. Well, that was such a lovely conversation. I really enjoyed Katherine's honesty and talking about how, the last 30 years, she sort of was doing things a certain way, and that she was still open to learning new ways of doing things. And I think sometimes the longer we get kind of set in our ways, it can be more challenging for us to learn something new and tweak how we do things. But she really has exemplified having a growth mindset, and how at any age and with any background, no matter how many years you have doing something, you can improve and tweak and tackle new exciting challenges. I love that she's going after the universal design demographic, meaning that she's really leaning into knowledge, learning, and then educating her clients and helping her clients on an extreme next level. I think it's really commendable, and I can't wait for her to share more on that journey with us. I hope you enjoyed Katherine's experience and the nuggets that she took away from Power of Process, because it's important to me that on the podcast, we share stories from designers of different stages of life and with different experience levels. It's not often I get to talk to someone who's been in the industry for this long. And so I hope this brought some perspective that was unique to not only taking Power of Process, which I do hope you join us for, but also running a design business. If you guys enjoy this episode, let me know. I'd love to see you inside Pop. Come on over, check it out at RebeccaHay.com/power of process. It's starting in April. I hope to see you there.